fights to make after UFC 315, as well as narrative shifts for every single fighter that fought on UFC 315. That is what we are going to be discussing in this video. But before we get into it, we all know that Jack Della Maddalena is the current champion, and we all know that Jack Della Maddalena, as a part of his regiment, gets up in the morning to a big bowl of grits. He is the one that is famous for the grit down, the guy that I'm always saying, do not let Volk spar with this guy. He's too gritty. We're actually thinking of adding grits to the cookbook. We have not done it yet. I think grits are pretty easy to make, but, you know, people have been asking for the grits. However, the Real Food Cookbook has other gritty recipes made with whole and unprocessed ingredients to help you achieve a gritty physique and to help you achieve a leaner, lean and mean. Like Volk says, lean and mean. That's what the Real Food Cookbook is going to help you do. Essentially, it gives you comfort foods from around the world, like butter chicken, chimichurri. We've got French fry recipes, and this will allow you to eat tasty, wholesome foods without having to suffer on a boring diet. So if you're interested, you can check out the Real Food Cookbook. Use code MMA for 30% off. But let's get into this. Modestas Bukauskas versus Ion Cutelaba. This was a pretty good fight. It was okay. Yeah, I feel like Ion Cutelaba is always expected to give us the greatest fights ever, but, you know, I feel like, you know, he's sort of like a Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje is the highlight reel, and Justin Gaethje is just entertaining, but he's not like the most entertaining fighter. Gaethje fans aren't going to like that, but you know I'm right. You know that Justin Gaethje and Shavkat Rakhmonov are not the most entertaining fighters in the world, right? Anyway, Ion Cutelaba is a marauder, but he's not Yuri, okay? I just want to get that out of the way. I feel like some people talk about him like he's Yuri Prochazka, but I like Ion. I'm a fan of Modestas as well. I'd like to see Ion Cutelaba fight Navajo Sterling next. I think that's a pretty good fight. And I would like to see Modestas Bukauskas fight Alonzo Menafield. I think both of these fights make sense. Modestas is on a win streak. Alonzo Menafield is ranked at the 15 spot. Navajo Sterling, only 2 wins in the UFC. I think Ion Cutelaba would be a good test. He hasn't faced anyone that's just an all-out marauder yet. Ursulin is like a halfway marauder, whereas Ion Cutelaba is just a total marauder, man, even though he's not Yuri Prochazka. So I like that fight. Let's get on to the next one. Mike Malott, Radke. Narrative shift? Yes, for Mike Malott. The narrative shift is that actually he has his confidence and it's not totally lost after the Magny fight. And that fight that he had with Giles, that terrible, boring, pit-pat NPC fight, that's actually not the norm. Mike Malott, the guy that was just destroying people, blowing people out of the water, and we should expect this version of Mike Malott in the future. And he actually is the prospect that people were saying he was before he lost to Magny. I think the narrative shift for him is that, you know, he's the real deal, actually. And he's not just someone that just got fraud checked and he'll never be good again. The next fight for Mike Malott, I'd like to see him get a ranked opponent. I'd like to see him get another crack in the rankings. You know, it's been 2 fights since the Magny loss. And I think that, you know, we don't need to give him the hardest of fight, but Luque and Holland, this is going to be a ranked fight. Luque is ranked 14. Whoever wins this, if Holland wins, he'll be ranked. If Luque wins, he'll continue to be ranked. So I'd like Malott to fight the winner of Luque Holland. I think it's a decent bump up in competition, but not too much. You're not just throwing him back to the Wolves. So, yeah, I think that this would be a good matchup. Let's get on to the next one. Benoit St. Denis submitting Kyle Prepolek. Classic Benoit St. Denis, not really a big narrative shift. He looked like the same guy. And that's not necessarily a good thing. I would have liked to see some improved defense, and maybe his defense didn't look that great. Let's be honest, he did dominate the fight. I mean, he totally dominated the first round, dominated most of the second round, beat up Prepolek, and then got a submission. But there were moments where he was looking like the Benoit St. Denis from the Poirier fight with no defense whatsoever. And he actually looked to be slowing down a little bit in moments. But maybe it's because he had no respect for Prepolek, and he just really wanted to get him out of there as soon as possible, so he was willing to take, you know, some punches. But at the same time, this doesn't give me confidence that his defense on the feet, which needs to improve if he wants to actually beat highly ranked opponents, it doesn't give me confidence that it's gotten better. However, the next fight is Mateusz Gamrot. Benoit's calling out Gamrot. This was the fight that they offered Benoit St. Denis. I was happy that he took the Prepolek fight because it's good that Benoit got a tune-up before a really tough fight. And also, he wanted to fight sooner rather than later. They were offering him Gamrot for like a fight night from a couple of weeks away. So it's better that he fought sooner. Now, Mateusz Gamrot is booked to fight Ludovic Klein. Win or lose, I think this is a fight the UFC can make anyway. Even if Gamrot loses, he still has a respectable name, right? He's looked at as a tough fight. And it's not that dangerous. It's not Joel Alvarez. It's not one of these guys that has crazy KO power or a crazy submission game. But either way, it is a big step up in competition from Prepolek. A 5-round fight with Mateusz Gamrot to headline a France card, a Paris card would be epic. It's a winnable fight for both guys. And if Benoit wins against Gamrot, that would be the best win of his entire career. So I'd like to see this one made. It would be epic. And also, in a way, it's like another tune-up for Benoit as far as danger goes. Gamrot is not a tune-up as far as, like, him being an easy win, but he's not as dangerous as most of the other ranked lightweights. So let's get on to the next one. Aiemann Zahabi versus Jose Aldo. I would say the narrative shift here is Aiemann Zahabi's just a dog, dude. And he goes out there and he imposes his will and does exactly what he needs to do. Now, he's shown that in the past. He's shown that against the Bashrap Bros, where all he did was impose his will, just move forward, and that's enough to win. But after his last fight against Munoz, like, it was a scrappy fight with an old man, Pedro Munoz. I wasn't sold on Aiemann Zahabi, but Aiemann Zahabi proved to us that his ability to just bite down on the mouthpiece, impose his will, and get gritty is actually enough to trump someone with a big skill advantage over him. And he did just that. Even though Aldo's older these days, Aiemann Zahabi gritted down and beat the more skilled fighter and, showed some crazy toughness. He's not that great for bantamweight. He's okay, but it's really his heart and his mindset that willed him to victory against Aldo. Even though it was a very close fight, Aldo had an argument for winning the third round, but so did Aiemann Zahabi because he had like 3 minutes of very dominant ground and pound. But Aiemann Zahabi, the narrative shift on him is that before the Aldo fight, we didn't really care that much about him. We were saying, why the hell is he getting Jose Aldo, a legend? I mean, he's done nothing to earn a big fight like that. But, that was such a good fight. I'm actually kind of excited to see Aiemann Zahabi fight at bantamweight now. He actually built a bit of a name off of this one. So for Jose Aldo, we'll talk about what's next for him. But before that, Aiemann Zahabi should fight the winner of Batista versus Vera. He called out Marlon Vera. I mean, even the loser would be okay with me because Mario Batista beat Aldo, and that would be another win over over Vera. Loser or winner, fuck it. Just have him fight Chito Vera next, okay? And for Jose Aldo, let's have him just sail off into the sunset. I said in my recap video, I don't 100% buy that Aldo's going to retire. And if he wants to come back, him versus Henry Cejudo would be epic. But, I mean, he has nothing else to prove. Sure, he can give us good fights, but he's not really going to climb the rankings anymore. I mean, he could win, he could lose. It doesn't really make that big of a difference. He's never going to fight for a title again. Why continue to come back and take more damage unless he just loves fighting? Listen, I love watching Jose Aldo fight, but at the end of the day, he's done everything that there is to do in this game. He's a top 10 all-time fighter, right? Like, him winning or losing is not really going to change his legacy that much at this point. And I think it's better just to save himself from taking more damage. So, yeah, had an amazing career, one of the GOATs. I hope that Jose Aldo can enjoy his retirement. So let's get on to the next one. Zhang Weili, Valentina Shevchenko, that's the fight to make. You can make this fight. Let's get on to the next one. I know that who won last night? Natalia Silva could be next, but let's just do a big double champ fight. Okay, let's kill two birds with one stone. Rather than having two co-main events on separate pay-per-view cards being WMMA title fights, let's just get one co-main event being a title fight. Okay, you get what I'm saying? We could either have Shevchenko fight Silva and then the next card, Weili, take up a co-main event spot. Let's just have them fight each other so that the UFC can't be like 2 title fights on mediocre cards. You get my point. Anyway, even though they will for one, I'd rather them just do it for one card than do it for 2. All right, let's make this fight. Zhang Weili has earned it at this point. Okay, she's defended her belt. There's no interesting contender for her to fight in her own division. Even though Shevchenko is Natalia Silva, she'll still be there after this fight. Okay, so let's get on to the next one. Belal Muhammad, Jack Della Maddalena. Narrative shift. Big narrative shift for Jack Della Maddalena, and that is that he has very good defensive grappling skills. And I would say that his defensive grappling skills were underrated because people were saying he can't grapple at all. He's getting dominated easily. But you couldn't say that they were totally wrong on him because he wasn't looking like a great defensive grappler. He was getting held down. He was getting taken down by Basil Hafiz. He was getting held down by Gilbert Burns. You could say that he was slightly underrated because he was able to work his way back up. But after last night, you have to look at JDM stuffing all of those takedowns from the guy that may be the best wrestler at welterweight. And then when he gets taken down, getting back up to his feet in a matter of 10, 15 seconds every single time. JDM has great takedown defense and great ability to get up to his feet. Really good defensive jiu-jitsu. And that's that Craig Jones specifics training. So you got to respect JDM as someone that has elite takedown defense, get-up ability. That's the biggest narrative shift on him. And also, you know, for the people that didn't know, now you know. I always thought that JDM was the guy that was different than the other prospects like Gary and Shavkat. I looked at JDM as he always had such a polished style that if he could just improve his takedown defense a little bit, because his striking style allows him to go hard 5 rounds because of how efficient it is. I mean, who's going to be able to stop this guy? He's just got such slick boxing, and there's no one else at welterweight that can match it, right? So he proved me and a lot of other JDM believers right. And the narrative shift for Belal is that, you know, he is at this point in his career, I mean, he's no longer playing it safe. I know that he failed some takedowns and he would have liked to have kept them. But at the end of the day, in the beginning of the fight, he did just want to stand with JDM and he gave us a war. And when things got tough for him, he didn't just back up. Like the 4th, 5th round, he pushed a pace. He moved forward. He was willing to eat big strikes to land his own. You got to respect Belal Muhammad's grit. And I saw that in the Edwards fight. I said, damn, he brought a dog fight to Leon Edwards. I thought that Leon would beat Belal because Belal wouldn't drag him into a dog fight and that we would have to wait to see Shavkat do something like that. But Belal actually showed grit. And this is the second gritty performance from Belal on the feet. So I think the narrative shift there is that, dude, Belal, if he wants to, he can grit down and he can have a really fun fight. So, you know, it's interesting how Merab and Belal looked at as boring fighters. The 2 best fights this year were from both of them, right? Merab versus Umar, Belal versus JDM, both guys willing to grit down. So yeah, those are the narrative shifts. The next fight I want to see for Belal Muhammad, I would like to see him fight the winner of Buckley versus Usman. Listen, if Buckley beats Usman, I know that some people are going to be saying he gets a title fight, but the thing is, right now, the welterweight division is so stacked, and there's almost a logjam just because, you know, there used to be a logjam at welterweight because no one would fight, but now everyone's fighting. There's just so many really sick contenders that there's a logjam for the best reason, right? I don't know if Buckley is going to get a title fight if he beats Usman with people like Gary and Shavkat waiting as well. But I'd really like to see Belal fight Usman. Even if Usman loses, which I think he would retire, which, you know, we wouldn't get to see Belal versus Usman if Usman loses, if he retires. But I'm almost rooting for Usman just so we can see this fight because Belal and Kamaru do not like each other. They have beef. Maybe that beef won't be as interesting now that Belal isn't the champ and Kamaru Usman doesn't have to, you know, treat him as a champ and cope with the fact that Belal's champ. But, you know, I think that this would be a good matchup. Whoever wins, just give Belal Muhammad either Usman or Buckley next. I think it'd be a fun stylistic matchup as well. And next for JDM, I'd like to see JDM fight Shavkat. You know, I think that Makhachev's thinking about moving up. Let's have Makhachev fight Topuria. And Shavkat's injured. He probably won't be ready until the end of next year. Let's do JDM versus Shavkat for JDM's first title defense at the end of 2026. And then we could maybe think about, no, I'm just messing around, guys. Heck no. JDM versus Makhachev is the fight to make. Listen, I want to see Topuria versus Makhachev. I would choose that over this. But you know what? JDM did just beat the best well-rounded grappler at welterweight. And his takedown defense looked really good. So I am excited for this. And he trains with Craig Jones. So even if Makhachev has a much better submission game than Belal Muhammad, even if he's the best submission artist in the UFC, some people are going to say, whoa, best submission artist. Charles Oliveira has more submissions. Okay, Derek Lewis has more KOs than, you know, other KO artists. But does that make him the best knockout threat in the UFC? No, the best knockout threat is Tom Aspinall. The best knockout threat, are the guys that are KOing people at the highest level, okay? And I know Charles Oliveira is a high-level fighter. I get it. But Makhachev is submitting people in the lightweight division in title fights right now, okay? And he submitted Oliveira. Anyway, I think this fight is next. I would like to see it in Perth or Abu Dhabi. If we see it in Abu Dhabi, we're getting the best Makhachev. If we see it in Perth, we're getting the best JDM. Now, he says he wants to get it back for Volk. I want to get it back for Volk. I love the way the JDM spoke in his post-fight interview in the Octagon. He has like these short sentence, like these short liners, right? And he doesn't even try hard at all, but everything that he says just sounds epic because it's not try hard at all. And, JDM's one of those guys. He doesn't say a lot, but he's like, I'm going to get it back for Volk. And you expect him to say more, and he doesn't. And it freaking works out really well, right? So yeah, dude, JDM, I'm really liking JDM as champ right now. I like the walkout song, TNT, everything just fits so well. Dude, JDM is a sick champ. Unfortunately, it's not going to be a big mega fight just because Ilia Topuria is so much more well-known and has a lot more hype. And the buildup is not going to feel as cool, but we'll get two big, massive fights, one at lightweight with Topuria, one at welterweight with Makhachev going for double champ status. And if Makhachev loses this, we will get the Topuria fight, which is awesome. But if he wins, which I think he might, we're never going to see the Topuria fight. I think people need to cut that out of their mind. They think that, don't worry, we're just going to delay it now. No. Makhachev will not move back down to lightweight to drain himself to get back down there when we know he already has a tough weight cut. After he bulks up to welterweight, you think he's going to want to cut back down to 155? He's going to have a second belt. You think he's going to want to do that, or he's going to want to defend his belt and have that on his resume, being a defending champion in multiple divisions and then retiring forever? If he beats JDM, we're never seeing him move back down to lightweight. I'm telling you, we're just not going to see it. It's not happening. Nobody does that. Whenever people move up and they win, they never move back down to defend, ever. Because why would they want a weight cut again? Why wouldn't he want, if Topuria beats Oliveira, that's a really tough fight, but why wouldn't he want to, not saying Sean Brady is an easy matchup. I'm not saying Gary is an easy matchup. I'm just saying not weight cutting is going to look real good for him if he has a second belt, okay? So we will probably lose that forever if Makhachev wins, but now again, this is exciting because Jack Della Maddalena took a year off after the Burns fight and improved tenfold. He got way better with his takedown defense. More time for this guy, and he's only, 28, 29? That's going to be massive for him. He could get even better going into the Makhachev fight, and he's going to have a lot of confidence after beating Belal. Makhachev's going to need to get this guy down in order to win this fight. I know he's got good striking. I know he can compete. I know that JDM doesn't just sleep people with one punch, but the point that I'm making is he's going to have to get him out of there via submission. I don't know if Makhachev is going to be able to outstrike him, and the thing is, yes, he could get him down here and there, but I don't know if Makhachev can't submit him. I don't know if taking JDM down for 20 seconds at a time is enough, because I don't know if Makhachev will be able to make the other 4 minutes on the feet count as much as JDM. So it's an interesting fight. It's a good fight. It's a big opponent. Makhachev's going to be fighting the bigger guy. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not so salty that we're losing the Topuria fight. And if Makhachev loses, at least he still gets to fight Ilia Topuria. So it's kind of like a win-win, right? If he wins, okay, whatever. He gets to fight Sean Brady. Hopefully he defends or wants to defend the belt one more time. We at least see two Makhachev fights rather than this being the last one, because I do have a feeling that he might retire if he beats Jack Della Maddalena, just because it's like, all right, you won a second belt. Should I keep risking it fighting these other guys, or should I just hang it up while I'm ahead? It's possible that he retires. But yeah, Makhachev at welterweight's interesting. Topuria, he has Oliveira to fight. He has Arman Tsarukyan to fight. Even Pimblett. If Pimblett wins again, we could see that fight. So yeah, I joked around a little bit about Shavkat. Shavkat's going to have to wait, man. He needs to fight Sean Brady, or he's going to have to wait for Sean Brady to fight the winner of JDM versus Makhachev. Am I the only one that just doesn't even think Shavkat is that impressive anymore? I need to bring this up just because I feel like Shavkat still has that boogeyman name, but he doesn't feel like a boogeyman anymore. I would pick JDM to beat him. I would pick Sean Brady to beat him. Yeah, I think that Sean Brady is like the only big test for JDM and Makhachev at welterweight. But all three of those guys are going to have competitive fights. So the future of welterweight is looking good. Let's make this in Perth. It might be in Abu Dhabi. I mean, when is the Perth card? That's September. So JDM would have May, June, July, August. That'd be 4 months. He just had a 5-round war. I don't know if he's going to be ready for September. I think they might have him fight in October, which I don't mind if that's the case at all. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Until next time.